So I wanted to talk about something that's a little different than probably my normal topic, but I think really important for a lot of you. And it was actually a request from Mr. Curbmeister himself, the king of curb, if you will. Not the Kirb, not Curb, not homeless curb, like sitting on the curb, Kirby. More like Kirby, like puffy Pokemon looking. Even though he's not a Pokemon, but you get the idea. Anyways, um, it's actually about your significant other. So in the chat, real quick, let me know if you have a significant other, so somebody who you date or allows you to talk to them, and maybe you live with them and eat food with them, and sometimes do things together. Okay, so we got some no's, we got some yeses. All right, cool. So yes, a lot of you guys have some stuff. Thomas, I'm sorry. But for everyone else, I'm kidding. Just you, Thomas. All right, so here's the deal. Layla and I had this realization that the number one kind of multiplier or amplifier on someone's effectiveness inside the business actually had a lot to do with what was going on outside of the business. And what's difficult for that as a business owner is that you want, or rather, I want to be able to predict how well someone does over the long haul. And so if many variables exist, many variables must be studied, right? And so that's a B.F. Skinner quote. And so if we think about your subjective well-being, so your happiness metric, the strongest correlate to that of all variables is the strength of your relationship with your significant other. Believe me, this is about making money and not being happy. That's not my shtick. So I will stay to my lane. But 0.71 correlation for your subjective well-being and your significant other. 0.71, really, really strong. Now, I do think that a significant part of that is whether your significant other helps you achieve your goals. And so the reason that this is so nasty is that I have had people who came into our companies and were what I thought were going to be stars. And then their significant other derailed them. And the reason that I think it's so insidious is that it's not done out of malice. And I think that's why it's so tricky, is that let's say you have a tough day at work and you go home and your significant other says, enough about your day. Let's talk about my day. Here's a big bowl of ice cream, or, hey, let's go out to dinner, or, hey, let's go see friends, right? All of that seems well-intentioned. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, does this increase or decrease the likelihood that I hit my goals? And I see hitting one's goals as essentially your relationship with yourself, which is why I see goal achievement as the most important thing that you can do in your life, because it's really just, do you keep your commitments to yourself? And before anyone jumps down my throat, the analogy that I would give is the very classic one, which is like when you're on an airplane, what do they say? You put your air mask on before you help others. And I think that your significant other was likely attracted to you to some degree based on your aspirations, what you want to do with your life. And what's interesting is that they will be attracted to that thing and then also be the source of that demise. They will do things and take actions that make it less likely that you achieve your goals and then complain about the fact that those goals have not been hit. And that's tough. And it's usually because they do not see that what they do hurts you. And I say hurts you not because, again, out of malice, but out of what happens, what occurs. And so this has been something I've been thinking of a lot, so much so that we are considering putting it as a part of our interview process for people coming in. And so if you look at how supportive a spouse is or your significant other, I think that it's not a binary. I see it on a continuum, right? On the absolute worst case, you have somebody who's like, you need to quit that job, you need to quit that place, whatever. Now, under the right circumstances, that could be super encouraging because they're saying you should go pursue your dreams, in which case that's amazing. And they're over here, right? But if that's the main vehicle that you have to like provide for the family and that's your dream or that's your goal, then how terrible is that? And now every time you go home, you're reminded of this, and basically talking about work is punished, which then associates a negative and aversive stimulus with the thing that you need to keep doing in order to hit the goals as a unit, which is kind of a secondary theme that I have around spouses that are on the good side of the continuum, which is that they see you and them as one. And so it's like, we are achieving this goal. We are like, I am taking these sacrifices. I am making money too, and I'm allocating some of my money so that my spouse can do what they want to do, he or she wants to do, right? And that type of unit tends to, tends to outperform the people who are kind of solo dolo, right? Like on, again, the extreme, you have somebody who actively tries to destroy. 1 degree, to the left of that is somebody who's passively destroying, which I would say is the same in terms of outcome. Like, hey, don't worry about it. Hey, kick your feet up. Hey, let's just go out this weekend. Let's not think about work. Well, it still results in the same thing, which is you work less and you don't talk about the thing that you care about. Now, if you care about your work, then it would make sense that you should be able to talk about that with the one person who matters most to you in your life, right? But if you can't, it's very lonely. And I think it makes it less likely that your goal is that you stick with it, because it no longer becomes an us thing. It's just a you thing. And then work becomes something that's a take from your relationship. Super tough, because now you have conflicting priorities. You have conflicting reinforcement contingencies. You've got the spouse that whenever you do this other thing, it's taking away from that person. And that's because of how they have framed it. And so if you can have a spouse who frames you working as you loving them, then you win, because they see you working as you feeding the unit, you feeding our goals, what we want to do with our lives, what impact we want to make as a family. And a family can still be 2 people, but nonetheless. And so on the left, right, you've got the actively destroying. Second, you've got passively destroying. And the only difference I see there is intention, not as outcome. And for me, I care very little about intention personally. Now, to the middle of that, I think you have neutral. And so these are the people that are just like, you do your thing, I do my thing, right? And I think there's kind of two flavors of this. One is you've got a spouse who has their own career or their own business, and they're just running on their path and you're running on yours, which can actually be a very successful pairing as long as you both give each other space to go pursue both of your goals, which then both of you are achieving your best version of yourselves. And then as each of you levels up, you become more and more attracted to the other person, because like your stock goes up and so does theirs. Cool. The other version of neutrality I see is that they will not detract. They will not interfere with you achieving your goals. Now, very different from supporting. They just won't get in the way. If you have to work, they say, okay. Now, they're not going to say, hey, honey, don't worry about it. I got it at home, right? Like, I got the kids, or I got the whatever's going on. Like, I got this. Go do what you got to do, right? That's supportive. Neutral is understood, right? I'll go figure out what I need to do in the meantime. And you can already guess where the next version of this is, right? Is supportive, which is not, they increase the likelihood that you hit your goals. And so I see, that's how I define support, is that they take interest and they increase the likelihood that you hit whatever goal you set out to do. And so I think many people, some of you guys right now, if you're being honest with yourselves, if you were to answer the question, does having this person in my life increase or decrease the likelihood that I hit my goals? I think some of you might have a very tough set of questions to have. 5 Reddit questions on relationship. Hold on. This thing is nasty. Have you guys seen this? This thing is just absolutely vicious. Okay. So I'm going to give you 5 questions that I think are just destructive and just nuclear bombs. Number 1, if someone tells you that you're a lot like your ex or your current, would you take that as a compliment? Think about it. Number 2, would you allow your future kid to date someone like your spouse? 3, were you able to unapologetically be yourself, or do you have to act like someone else when you are with them? 4, do you like the real them, just their good side, or the idea or potential of them? And then finally, while you are with them, are you fulfilled, or are you simply less lonely? And so I think if you can think through those are tough questions to answer. And I'll be clear here. I think that every day, like sometimes there are moments where a relationship can get in the rocks. But I think what's interesting about this set of questions is that they zoom out a lot. It's, would you want your kid to date someone like this? Like if someone describes you like them, would you take it as a compliment? That's usually going to take it to like their character, right? The behavior traits they do on a regular basis, right? Do you like the real them or the idea of them? Are you fulfilled or just lonely, right? These are, I think, really good questions when we're thinking about this, because I've been fortunate with Layla, and I by no means do I stand here on a pedestal. I want to be very clear here. But she has made it more likely that I hit my goals. And fundamentally, the reason that I ended up marrying her was from that frame. And we actually got married. I probably won't go too much more into this because I don't like talking about relationships very much. But I had a you call it a mindset coach. I think his technical term was an executive coach. I had an executive coach when I was like 26 or 7. And it was before Layla and I got married. And I said, I don't know if I want to be with this girl. It's not like we have this like chemical fireworky chemistry, relationship. But like, I think she's really cool and I like her a lot and I like being around her and I feel like I'm better when I'm with her. And he said, well, look at your stats. And so he went category by category. So he's like, how about fitness? Are you working out? And I was like, yeah, she goes to the gym. And so I, basically if I don't want to go, I'll still go with her. And he was like, okay, so you're working out more than you were on your own. I was like, yeah. He's like, okay. He's like, what about food? Are you eating healthier? And I was like, yeah, she's actually, she did a year of culinary school. She likes, cooking for me. She likes baking. She likes doing all that stuff. And, but she's like in fitness. So she knows how to make like the kind of stuff that I want to eat. And he was like, that's great. Cool. He's like, okay, what about financially? He's like, does she spend a lot of money? I was like, no, actually she makes me money. Like she not only doesn't spend money, she makes me money and she helps me go make more money because she handles things that I would normally have to do so that I can go sell more. And he was like, okay. And so we just keep going down this list and basically all my stats were up. And so that conversation was one of probably 3 moments in my life with Layla that I was like, huh, what if I use the frame of like, does this person help me become the person I want to be rather than do I have the butterfly tingles and fireworks, which is basically the litmus test that I used for every other relationship that I'd been in my life. And I can tell you that now we've been together 8.5 years, something like that. And I think logic prevails. So I'll explain what I mean by that. Is like, if you are together based on pure emotion, then it means that when the emotions change, you don't want to be together. For us, we have had a logical foundation for why it made sense for me because my goals have not changed. My goals have remained more or less the same since I got into business, since I've been almost like in high school. I've wanted to just be successful, grow, make more, be more, right? And at all points in time, no matter how angry, upset, whatever I can be, I have not met anyone who has helped me more than she has. And so in becoming the person I want to become and achieving the things that I want to achieve. And the very first date that we went on, I told her, I'm going to work all the time. And so this will only work if you can spend time with me while I work. And so I think our second date was like a daytime date. I was like, the day after we went on our first date, I was like, you want to hang out tomorrow? I was like, I'm just going to be working at my place all day. And she said, sure. She said, I've training clients in the morning and I'll come hang out after lunch. And I said, fine. And so we just worked the rest of the day. And the next day I also worked. And so then she came over and we worked there. And we pretty much spent every single day after that together with no date. So much so that I left and did a launch and came back and she said, you said you would take me on a date. It's been a month. I'd spent 30 days in a row with her, had not taken her on a date, had just worked next to her. And so to me, very much like, this is me. This is my life. If you want in on this, then great. But like, I'm not going to change this. And I think we look at people in our lives and we ask ourselves, am I willing to make compromises? And I just have not been willing to compromise my goals. And in every situation where I was forced to compromise my goals or feel like it was a tit for tat, we're like, oh, okay, we talked about your day, let's talk about my day. Okay, fine. Let's support both of our careers, whatever it is. When those things, I always felt like I was like, compromise is just both people not getting what they want. Like fundamentally. And so I would rather find a way where we can just both get what we want. And the nice thing is that there's a lot of humans. And I think that it's kind of like mediocre employees where like the dangerous ones, Frank Slootman talked about this. He's like a serial multi-billion-dollar CEO. And I've read a lot of stuff. I haven't read his book, but he said the thing that will destroy your company is B players, not C players. C players are obvious and everyone's happy to kick them out. A players are winners. He said it's the B players. They're good enough to not get fired, and they're really just along for the ride. And I think many people, myself included, have been stuck in B relationships with B players for extended periods of time. And maybe they don't, like, now maybe they don't have negative intentions. But when we ask the question, does it make it more likely that I hit my goals with this person in my life? Is it more likely that I become the person that I want to become? Am I better as a result? If I had them rub off on me, do I see that as a compliment? Do I see that as a pro? And I think many of you guys want to succeed here. And I think many of you have a shackle around both of your feet and you're trying to run a marathon. And you're wondering why you can't run as fast as other people, but you're carrying this weight behind you, making it virtually impossible to run and compete. And so I know this one isn't as tactical as what I normally talk about, but it's kind of one of those big picture things that the reason that Layla and I brought it up is that when we looked at the people who've come into our company, and then we only measured them based on the relationship and support they have with their spouse, it was 100%. And that was why it was so freaky to me. Like we just went through couple after couple after couple after couple, and we could predict where they would end up. And what was interesting is that it didn't have a ton to do with where they started. So some people who were lower in the organization and had all in spouses who were like, would wear gym launch gear, wear acquisition.com gear, even though they don't work at the company, they're like, whatever they need to do. And I've seen this on the husband side and the wife side, right? Like those people disproportionately performed compared to the opposite, where you have a star who comes in, but then you meet the spouse, you meet the significant other, and it's like, ooh, yeah, that's an out point. That's going to be a problem. And here's the thing, is that that person doesn't make you a worse runner. It just means that you have to use up so much of your energy on something that doesn't propel you forward. And so like, if you've got this weight around your ankle, you still have to be strong to run the race, arguably stronger just to compete as a normal person. But the idea is that you're wasting a huge amount of your potential just managing this relationship so that you can do what you want to do with your life. And I think this has just been just a theme. And even, I've met some of the school day winners and things like that. And I get, questions during the lunch and people are just asking more personal stuff. And I just see it as this theme. And if you're like, hey, I'm in a B relationship, I do think I just have somebody who's along for the ride. If you want to not be a coward, let them go for two reasons. One, because of what it says about you, and the other is for what it does for them. One is you are a coward for being afraid of being alone rather than wanting what you believe you deserve. It's settling. And you will always know at the end of the night when you're in bed and you're looking up at the stars or the dark ceiling, and you'll know when they're asleep whether or not you feel like you are equally yoked. Do you feel like you are with someone who makes you who you want to be? The second piece is that if you truly care about this person, which you claim to, I'm betting, then do you think it's fair to them that if they knew what you felt about them being a B player, that they would still want to be in a relationship with you? And don't you feel like you owe it to them to give them a chance to find somebody who does think that they're an A player for them? And to be very clear, I don't think that these are actually intrinsic to the person. I think that dynamics between two people are very unique. Like, I think I've had relationships in the past that were wonderful people, and I still hope the absolute best for them. I just wasn't the right person for them, and that's okay. And so I think that we need to raise the bar on ourselves and be kind, not nice. Like, being kind is maximizing the benefit of the other person, not supporting their feelings and getting agreement in the short term. It's very easy to get agreement. You just basically do whatever they say. But if you think that it's in their best interest that somebody else would love them better than you, then I think you owe it to them. I also think you owe it to yourself. And so it's just been this thing it was top of mind, and Kirby wanted me to bring it up because I think a lot of you are in this boat. I mean, I talk to you guys, and I get what I call trade-off questions, which is like, hey, so how do I get my girlfriend to be into my work? It's never going to happen. Layla and I talked about business the first date for 4 hours. All she cared about was fitness marketing. When we talked, it's literally what we talked about. I talked about ads, funnels, offers, and conversion processes. That was our entire first date. We didn't talk about kids. We didn't talk about anything. We just talked about that. And so it felt like it was just a business meeting. And I was like, well, that was fun. I was like, I didn't have to pretend to talk about something that I didn't care about. I was like, this was wonderful for me, right? Instead of having to pretend for an hour over, froyo, that I give a shit about whatever you're doing, right? Much better. And so, right. So if you're in that trade-off, like, you're not going to, it's very unlikely, right? Unless you can create some sort of rewarding stimulus that gets them to be addicted to work. Difficult, not impossible, but very difficult. Second to that, you get the trade-offs of like, okay, well, I want to spend time with my kids. I want to spend time with my wife. How do I balance that with work? You balance it. And that's fine. It's just understanding that you're going to make trades. Like if you worked every hour of every day, you'll probably do better than if you didn't. And that's okay. Because also it's relative to you, not relative to everyone. So Jeff Bezos was married and had kids and then grew Amazon. Like many of the richest people in the world are married and have lots of kids. So maybe they could have been even more successful if they didn't, but do they care? Right? And so I don't think so. Like, one, you can make trade-offs. Two, does it matter? Would you go as fast as you could if you spent all your time? No. Is it a trade-off you're willing to make? Probably. And I think that's fine. And so I think a lot of people get in these trade-off questions, but where I think you get into issues is where you're making the trade, but you're not getting either. You're trading your goals and you're not getting the fulfillment. You're not getting the person that makes you better. You're not getting the person that you would feel like a compliment if someone were to describe you like them. You're being with the person that you wouldn't want your kid to date. You're being with the person that only is there to keep you less lonely, but in no way makes you fulfilled. And I think that's where you get the worst of both. And that's where compromise means you just get neither person gets what they want. And so I think some of you guys may have a hard conversation or two. And sometimes it could just be the simple conversation of being like, hey, I would like it if you increase the likelihood to hit my goals. The way that you do that is in these 3 behaviors. And instead of this, do this. So if you want to give feedback, don't tell people to not do stuff. Tell them what to do instead. So under this condition, change your behavior in this way. It would help me. So when I come home and I say I'm stressed about work, I don't want you to tell me that work isn't cool. I want you to just listen, or I want you to help me solve it. But tell them what you want, and then they can behave in the way according to that. And so in a lot of ways, you can make that person who's neutral and supportive because maybe and very likely they do want to support you, but they just don't know how. And so if you haven't communicated that, then you absolutely you don't need to do any of the stuff that I talked about if you haven't even done 101, right? Which is tell them. But if you have told them and it's not of interest to them, then I think you have to look at other options. If you want, you can obviously just be dissatisfied and just be in an empty relationship for the rest of your life. So that's obviously something too, and you can just not achieve your goals. So always a path, and a path that many people often take. And so, anyways, this was a top of mind topic that Curb Diggity Dog wanted me to curb stomp, if you will, for you guys in the most violently loving manner I could. But listen, guys. Your dedication to your dreams is your dedication to yourself. And I think that learning and becoming the best version of ourselves, at least for me, is kind of the purpose of living. And so if that is at least part of your life's purpose, then I think having somebody who supports that goal rather than someone who is neutral or detracts from it is probably a good thing. Cool. Let's talk about very tactical business questions that have nothing to do with that topic. Yes, Elaine. Kirby wanted me to talk about it. He probably is in the middle of a love triangle right now, trying to figure out which UK or Costa Rican love affair he's going to pursue. let's talk about very tactical business questions that have nothing to do with that topic. Yes, Elaine. Kirby wanted me to talk about it. He probably is in the middle of a love triangle right now, trying to figure out which UK or Costa Rican love affair he's going to pursue. All right, let's pull him up. Okay, Jake Goss. What's up, dude? Scaled at Skool to 70K a month. I'm starting over at 0 to 2 possible offers. Okay. Helping Skool creators scale with 0 minimum lead times with TOC and lean. Don't know what TOC is. Pros, aligns with my long-term vision, creates recurring revenue. Okay, fine. Cons, needs more recent proof of concept. Upfront effort. I don't really see those as cons. I feel like everything is upfront effort. Okay. Teaching crypto, I'd recommend against that. Main reason, crypto is still super early. Now, like depending on who you're talking to, but I still think crypto's really early. And so crypto goes in and out of vogue. And so you make a lot of money, then make no money. And then you'll be trying to change this in 4 months once crypto goes out of fashion again. Once everyone just loses all their ass, which they might have already had happen. I don't know. I don't pay attention to it in terms of the coin stuff. So I would try and have something that is enduring, because if you want to be in the game business for a long time, which I hope you do, then you want something that you can do in 5 years. Okay. Afonso, thank you for the value bombs that I keep dropping. You're welcome. I'm currently your biggest bottleneck. Yep, that's always true. How should I find a partner who compliments me? Okay, I'm assuming you're being a business partner, not a like. How should I find my this swipe right man? And that can help take my community to the next level. I know about hire where it hurts. So with this, you really want to look for somebody who complements the things. So like, okay, zooming out. You can either go for an employee or you can go for a partner. And those are very different things. All right. So the employee is just somebody who you want is going to just replace some of the stuff that you're currently doing so you can do higher leverage activity. I think Keith Robois has a really wonderful clip on Instagram, I think. I think it was on Entrepreneurs on IG, I think is the handle or whatever. And he has this really good analogy that I just really like it. So he says, you've got barrels and ammunition. So think about the old school Civil War. Don't worry, I'm bringing it around. Civil War cannons, right? So you got a bunch of guys, and they're loading the cannon out, putting gunpowder, and then firing off cannonballs, right? He said most people you hire, you think that when you hire more people, you're going to increase output proportionally, and that basically doesn't happen. He said most people are ammunition, not barrels. And so basically, if you just add ammunition, you're still limited by the rate of firing of one barrel. You just have more to fire, but you still have a rate limiter. When you have a true star, they become a second barrel. And now you can start alternating and you can double your rate of growth or sales or marketing or product or referral rate or whatever the thing is that person's coming in for. He said the problem is that barrels are very rare. And so most of you don't have the perspective to choose a good partner. There's many partners that like you give half your stuff to, and they're not necessarily going to be as good as you are. And I think that's bad. I think that you should be bringing people in that you know are better than you, and then somehow convincing them to partner with you. I think that is the best strategy of doing this. Now, whether you do the partner or you do the hire, Afonso, I think it just comes down to, I actually don't know if there's a right answer for it. Like you could absolutely bring the partner in. I would have higher expectations of growth because think about it, the business has to at least double with them coming in. So think about that. For you to make the same amount, you've got to at least double. If you don't feel confident with that, then you probably shouldn't do the partnership. And it should at least double versus, and it's got to double like forever because of them being there. Because alternatively, could you take the same resources, hire somebody, and then still double the business without giving half away? So it's like, if you give half your profit away now, let's say it makes $10,000 a month, and you have to bring someone in and you split it, it's 5. Okay, well, can I hire someone for 5 that can still help me double my business, but now I don't need to give the next 5 away when I double it? And so it's actually a math problem that you pretty much have to solve with an element of risk on an adjusted return of what you expect this person to bring to the table. And so I think that's fundamentally, and to be fair, this is kind of how you would hire anybody. Like if you bring somebody in for $5,000, an employee, typically you have to then take all the time you got back and be able to make an extra $5,000 or more for the trade to be worth it. Now you'd want to make way more than that, because if you just paid five and then got five back, you make the same amount, but now you have one person to manage. So it's actually worse, right? So you have to make way more than what you pay them in order for it to be worth it. Hopefully that helped more than just Afonso. All right, Jared. I have recently launched paid ads. I did a month to my free community and added 86 members. That's great. I got 100 members and switched to paid at $19. That's awesome. My question is, when testing running ads, is it good to use dynamic creative with your 30 hooks? Honestly, super tactical in terms of button clicking. Probably not my strongest skill set. I think if you mentioned it in like one of Evelyn's things, she might respond to you because she's pretty good with the ad stuff. Honestly, I've had a media buyer for like years, and so I would be giving you a bad answer. So I apologize. Joshua, should I offer my low ticket at a discounted rate? But I will say, by and large, you do want to test every one of the variations to see which works. And then once you do find variations that do work, do more of that hook and do another whole batch of ads with just those winners, which all the people who come out to the school, they get to literally see me do live in front of them. Okay, so should I offer my low ticket at a discounted rate or free for high ticket members? Depends on the goal, man. So like, I mean, it really, like if someone's paying, you know, $2,000 a month and you've got a low ticket thing at $99 a month, like just give it to them. Like, who cares? Like they're like, oh, it's half off for 50. It's like, dude, just give it to them. And I think that's actually fairly standard. With basically the higher up you go in most service tiers, they will typically just include the services beneath them unless there's some sort of significant cost. But if it is low ticket, then it probably doesn't have a significant cost. So I think it's worth the goodwill, and I think most businesses operate that way. Alexander Petkov. Hey, Alex. Hello, Alex. If you were starting a community focused on teaching sales, would you kick things off in a specific niche like SaaS or gyms, or would you go broad right from the start? Depends on your audience. Yeah, it depends on your audience. I would say that if you had to go, there's probably a level in between there. So think about it like this. So in the offers book, I talk about this at length with like niching down. So I say first time management, and then I say time management for sales, and then I say time management for outbound sales, then I say time management for outbound garden and power hose, right? And so you have to have, in my opinion, SaaS is software as a service. If you have a proportionally narrow audience, you need to have a proportionally high price to make up for the lack of volume. All right. Now, where the $1 million question is it worth significantly more to people in that niche by being niched, right? And so the in-between broad sales and gym sales is probably like direct-to-consumer sales or service sales or phone sales or in-person sales. And so I would probably go somewhere in that middle line. Now, if you have an audience around one specific type of sale, then it would make sense to just make it around that. And then your price point can be like, here's the nice thing with the higher the specificity. The more specific it is, the more you can relate your price to what you know a salesman makes from an additional sale. All right, so one of the most successful communities we had for a long time was an insurance salesman community. And insurance salesmen make a few $1,000s per sale. And sometimes a lot more than that. And so for them to pay, call it like $12,000 a year to be in a community where like they got to get one more sale a quarter with some of these like marketing and outbound strategies is kind of a no-brainer. Like if they just learn the system and get one or two more per quarter, it's a W. And so on the flip side, if you're teaching employees who work front desk at a gym to sell $20 memberships, they probably just have a quota and they might get a $500 bonus at the end of the month. So it's like, now how many, again, if we're looking at this, right, how many gym front desk salespeople are there compared to insurance salespeople? Probably about the same. I'm being honest, probably about the same. And if that were the case, now I haven't done the math on it, you probably do more research, but like I would bet, shooting from my hip, it's about the same. But the earning potential of teaching front desk people how to sell memberships versus teaching insurance people how to sell more premiums is going to be way bigger on insurance. And so this is one of those like opportunity vehicle selection things that I think is super high leverage in terms of importance. Is like just selling the same thing to a different avatar is one of the easiest ways to make a lot more money. So That's my TLDR. If you have an audience, start with them. If you don't have an audience, I would probably go in between those two extremes. And that would probably come down to, and this is for everybody. When I think about avatar selection, the thing that I start with is absolute value created times potential number of units sold. So that typically means like, so I know a lot about gyms, right? And so I could probably make a lot of gyms really profitable. And at a point in my life, that was of every person on earth, that if you put one person in front of me that I could make the most money immediately, it was a gym owner. And so I made my business around gym owners because that was who I could provide the most value to. Now, were there other people who provide value to? Yes. As much as gym owners? No. Over time, I was able to provide just as much value or more value to many other business owners. And then obviously a transition, right? After we exit the business. So not, some weird limp wrist transition. And so I bring that up to say, start with the avatar that you can provide the most value to. Now, real talk, I'm measuring that with money though. And so that means that you might be able to help that front desk gym person a lot. And you might be able to help that insurance person 7 out of 10 and the gym person 10 out of 10. But the buying potential of the 7 out of 10 insurance person is probably a lot higher still, even with a slightly lower proportional value. And so then if I'm you, I'm going to just say, okay, how do I go from 7 to 10 in this avatar and then make my total value created significantly higher? And then number of units sold is a lot. So just so everybody, this is how I think through, like, how am I going to, where am I going to invest my resources if I'm going to go all in on something, which is what I would recommend you do. Okay. Fetty Wap. So I've almost got the traffic side of things sorted, and I'm just doing more and better. Awesome. Love that for you. Conversion isn't too bad, but it's one of our bottlenecks. Fair. We're getting around 550 meetings booked a day. That's awesome, dude. But we want to take more. Sure. Me too. We have a WhatsApp system that books 16%. I don't know what that is. Sounds really interesting. You should make a post about it. I would love to know what the WhatsApp system is. And then the Skool system, free group joins, onboarding call, but then it's only a sub at 10% ABR. I'm thinking average booking rate. Is that what that means? Should I do more of WhatsApp and try and fix optimize Skool process, or try and fix an optimized Skool process? Okay. Yeah. Okay, we have WhatsApp. Well, dude, it's just which one's more scalable in terms of making you more money. So think about this. You have a certain amount of effort you can allocate. If you have to, like, fundamentally, like, this is like all business decisions, by the way. So this is a useful, like, framework for everybody. You have X inputs. You've got your time, probably, and whatever skill you have. That's the input. The output is a risk-adjusted return on either path. And so it's like, if I were to dedicate 20 hours a week more to the WhatsApp thing, could I scale it linearly? Yes or no? If so, what risk do I have with that of it breaking at scale? If there's no break, then there I have a 16% conversion. But again, that conversion only matters based on the inputs that I have. If it takes me 10 times as long to get a lead, it's not as good, right? On the Skool side, same question. What do I get for what I put in? And then the place that I get the most for what I put in, that's where I put all my resources. Now, if you're like, well, if I got Skool to 16%, then it would be way more profitable. Then again, we look at this and say, all right, I have a short-term one-time cost of fixing this optimization, which you can probably do in a day. And then test it out, give it 7 days. If you don't beat the 16% control, then you say, cool, I'm going to do the thing that I was doing worked. And if it does beat it, then great, I now have my new solution. Hopefully that helps, Fetty. All right, Steph. If you invest 10K into learning, advertising, and selling, and it'll become zero, but then you'll be able to advertise and sell and make 10K every month afterwards. If I have 10K, how do I invest those skills just by programs? Good question. So there's a couple things. So one is, a lot of stuff's available on YouTube. Like, if you watch just all of my sales stuff, you'll probably be in pretty good shape. And if you've already read, like, everyone, I promise you, I don't give a shit about the, like, grab the books. I think if you're poor, I've got them on audio for free. So, like, just grab them for the love of God, please. It's literally the thing that I've spent the most time on is those books. So thing number one. And the leads book shows you how to advertise, and the offers book will tell you what to sell, and all my content will show you how to sell it. All right, so you could probably get away with that. What I'd rather you save your $10,000 for is advertising, right? Is, like, spend it on obviously you're spending money on Skool. Like, you're gonna have software costs you're gonna have to incur. You might want to run Facebook ads to get leads. Like that money is like testing ground for you to be able to flex and use these skills. And you will learn so much more from just trying to make it work and actually spending real money and actually talking to strangers than anything else. Now, I will say that I am disproportionately biased towards the alternative education community. So I am someone, like, if you watch what I did versus what I say, I always just pay everyone. And I'm just like, that's how I've been. And it has really served me well. And I just do my research. I look at people who have a ton of reviews. I look at people who have a ton of success stories, people who've been in a market for a while. So they obviously have something that's good. And I go there not expecting that they're going to save my life. But I go there with the expectation that I will get better than I am now, and I will get fundamentals, and I will be around other people who are working on the same thing. I'll join those communities, right? And so I have pretty much always approached it that way because I want to pay down time. So I've always been in a rush, despite obviously me talking about not being in a rush, but on the micro, I'm super rushed, right? I want to get through this stuff as fast as I can. And so I want to go into someone's program that has a zillion 5 stars and then just do more than what the best guy did. And that has served me really well. I think most people fall into the issue of like they buy it and then just like they think that when they exchange the money, money is going to appear, and that just doesn't happen that way. Instead, it's like you want to do everything even more than they recommend, and then find the person who did the best in the thing, give them money too, and ask them to show you exactly what they did because they'll probably have little tweaks on the main thing that made it work even better that the guy who paid it, who's running the thing, doesn't know about. Right. And so that's pretty much how I've always done it. Like I pay for access and then I network my face off trying to talk to every single person in the community just to try and learn stuff, not to try and sell them stuff, just to be clear, like to connect. And and the cool thing for everybody here is like, once you get one skill, like one actually valuable skill, you can literally use that to barter for everything else you need in life. And so like my big recommendation is like find one good thing that you're good at. Just get good at one thing. And then you can trade it for everything else. And so like for me, I was really good at sales and scripting and sales process. And so that's what I just gave it to everybody. And then I'd be like, hey, can you show me how to run Facebook ads? Hey, can you show me how to run TikTok ads? Hey, can you show me how to make content? Hey, can you show me how to optimize the landing page? Like all that stuff I just learned from trading with other people. And so I paid access to those communities. I would look for the stars. I would have my skill. I would trade it with them. I would give first. And then they would usually ask, is there anything I can do for you? And I'd be like, actually, dude, you can really help me with this. And then that's how I made my way. So that is honestly like my strategy for learning things really quickly. That's the hook of that short piece of content. Harut, I feel like I answered yours last time, but I'm in good spirits today. So I will choose to grace you with an answer, Harut. And because you said Mr. Alex. Everyone, you'll get higher response rates with Mr. Alex. We make about 60K a month because of annual one-on-one upgrades. That's great. Current MRR is 15K. That's fine. We mainly went to work with entrepreneurs who aren't complete beginners. Cool. That's what we have to sell. Great. Price is not high, 97 a month. Okay. I don't have to test, but if you had to guess, would you think the conversion will drop significantly from 197? No, I don't think so. Are you selling? I think you're selling over the phone too. And so, because you're basically selling at a 1K price point, I'm guessing, for the 60K a month. And if you're selling over the phone, my bet is you could probably get away with 5K. And yeah. Oh, wait, you're saying 1 and 5K? You sell 1 and 5? Oh, got it. Well, then, I mean, I'm assuming you go for 5 and then you settle on 1 is kind of what I'm guessing you do. So it's a downsell. You know what I mean? Like if you raise the price, if you raise the price of the downsell, it's like, does it so like basically, dude, I think you'd be better served just selling more people. And you could always run the dual group setup that I won't talk about. That must not be named. I'll just leave it there. If you wanted to go above 5. Yes, and Jake answered it nicely, right? I think if you go to 6K, I doubt you're gonna lose 20% of your sales, but you probably will make more money. And that tends to follow as long as you can provide value. Otherwise, you get known a very bad reputation. Okay, so Tony, rethink coach. So struggling to pivot group to from one-on-one, even offering free is not getting attention. Is it the messaging? So real, very tough to go one-on-one to group. So there's levels. So two components to this. One is I think you're better served going one to many than trying to hire someone to do your job. So that's thing one. Thing two, I think the ratio matters. So going from one-on-one to one-on-four, one-on-six is definitely far more achievable, and many people have made that transition compared to one-on-one to one-to-many. That's going to be a tough call. A lot of people aren't going to want to do that. And so that would be my transition, is one-on-one to small group, something like that. And the way that you make the transition there is you say, if you want to keep working with me, it's one-on-four or it's one-on-six. That's how you do it. And if your stuff isn't valuable, then they will leave, and then new people will come in and accept that as the frame. Or if your stuff is valuable, you will just keep everyone. So those are kind of the options. Either way, on a long time horizon, if that's what you need to do to 4x or 6x your income, then do it. Because either way, like you're guaranteed not to grow if you keep doing what you're doing, right? And so if you think that in order for you to make more, you need to increase the ratio, then increase the ratio. You also, as a side note, do have the option of increasing your price. And so fundamentally, like if you want to make more money, raise price, because if you're like you have supply and demand, right? And so either you can increase supply by changing the ratio, or because demand has gone up, you increase price. Like those are your choices. So you'll get fewer people who say yes, but you don't care because you don't have that much availability. Or you get the same amount of people to say yes, but now you can sell more of them because you have more slots open. So either you increase units or you increase value per unit. But either way, it would result in you making more money. If I had to make a first one, I would go price first because it's the easiest thing to do and you don't have to serve any more people. And so I would probably raise price before doing that. Okay, Daniel. All right. I remember one time you said that with his that as with many other things in life, in order to find the best significant other, you need to practice and go on many dates. How do you balance that with actual work? It's a great question. I had one of my sales guys ask me this yesterday. It's weird because I've worked like every hour that I've been awake for like the entirety of my life, but I feel like I always had like women around me. And so like I think you just make time, man. Like you just make time. I don't know. You just make time. Like you should, like instead of like think about it like this. Instead of whatever you would normally do to like relax, just go on a date. So there's a certain point in time where you're like, I'm worked out, like I can't do anything, my brain's dead. Go on a date, right? It might lift your spirits, and you'll be like, it's like a different gear. But I think setting expectations is helpful. Just being like, hey, I work a lot. But here's the thing: is that this is me talking to a guy. Most women aren't unattracted to a guy who works a lot, because most women like what comes from working a lot, which is more resources. So that is my 2 cents. I think that like text on your lunch break, like when I would eat lunch is when I would fucking work my Tinder leads, right? And then I would set lunch dates. So like basically whenever I would eat, I would just try and have someone there that I could knock a date out too, right? That way, and if I liked them, then it's like cool, we can do follow-ups and go from there, right? But like I was very like in or out really quick judgment. I did phone calls first as well, by the way. That's my little pro tip. Because I ain't got time for crazies. So anyways, I'll just leave it there. All right, John Willis, and I'm sure there's some school communities that will tell you tons of tactics around this, more than me. I've been out of the game for 8.5 years. John Willis, if you had to start again with no resources or money, just the knowledge you have now, what would you do to build your brand and online business? I think I've talked about this a lot of times. But I have lost everything and only had my wits about me. I've lost everything twice. And I would do what I did, which is that I went to local business owners and I generated leads for them. I worked those leads and I sold them. And I worked out a deal where I could keep a disproportionate amount of the cash that I generated because I was willing to take on the risk of ad spend. If you have no money for even like $1,000 of ad spend, then you ask them to front the risk for ad spend and you have a much worse split. That's just the name of the game. And so basically I still worked on pure performance as a way to get someone to say yes. And then I just blew it out of the water. And that's like literally I lost everything, made 100 grand the next month. And so like if you have the skills, you can always make more money. Which is why I say if you have 10K, buy the ability to advertise and sell, because you can always, it's basically like a permanent save game. Like once you have this, it's like you can like I can lose everything and then I can go market and sell and do other shit again. Like I can get it back. where does my purpose come from? It comes from getting better. I like learning. And this is just a great vehicle for me to learn. And I like business stuff. I do what I like. And it just happens to be business. So it's like, I give this analogy the other day. If I played video games 16 hours a day, no one would be like, dude, what's your larger purpose? Like what keeps you motivated? What's your big goal? They'd be like, he just likes playing video games. And like, yeah, I just like playing video games. It's just like, it just happens to have like real stakes, which makes it more fun. But that's honestly been my whole life. Like I make content about business. I draw pictures about business. I write books about business. I do business every day. I married a girl who talked to me about business. I just love business. It's just what I like. And it wasn't so that I could do something else, because I have all the means to do other stuff and I still fucking do business because I like it. So, because otherwise, by the way, if you have the, I want to work so hard so that I can, the so that I can is your purpose, not the work. The work is a vehicle. If you make the work the purpose, then you can work as hard as you want, and every day you keep accomplishing it. And so like when I took the year off, when I was selling gym launch, I basically couldn't do anything, which is why I started making content to begin with. During that year, that was when I came up for my working thesis for my life, which is hard work is the goal. Like when I looked back on my life, the most satisfied days I had was when I had nothing left in the tank. And so I was like, how do I live as many days in a row like that as I can? And so that's also why I work more now than I did when I had gym launch, because I just I wasn't sure if that was okay. And I've just accepted the fact that like I have zero financial needs, zero. I can live like an absolute dick for the rest of my life. And I like doing this more. I don't like, I don't really enjoy that. And so it's just the game. That's why my podcast is called The Game. Okay. Michael Masters, 90 days results is too long. Is too long? Is it too long? Who knows? My niche, serve local high school solar contractors, roofing, bathroom models. Okay. Oh, high ticket high school. Sorry. High ticket solar contractors. Got it. My current clients are getting 1 to 2 engaged leads per week organically. Okay. Plan is they're tight on spending. I'm starting with free community, and my program show them how to improve their marketing with SEO, warm outreach, reviews. Okay, cool. That's fine. Timeline gives 90 days to see results, but I feel like the bro contractors expect to win much sooner than this. So I think the question is, how long are deal cycles? And so fundamentally, you can't have a deal cycle that's faster than the results that you're promising, or rather, results can't be faster than the deal cycle. So it's like if someone is like, some of this, I think you can work around with sales, which is if they're like, I want to make money in 30 days, you're like, well, what's your average? How long does it take you to close a deal? And if I'm saying hypothetically, they're like, it takes 90 days. I'm like, well, then that means that you have to have gotten that person 2 months ago, which we haven't even started working yet. So is that reasonable? Now, on the flip side, if for them, they can close a deal in, call it 24 hours, then I would ask myself, what else can I do to make this happen faster? Because like the customer is never going to accept that you reasonably can't deliver quickly. Customer doesn't care. And so you just have to ask the question, like, what would it take? Like, what do I have to do? And what do they have to do? And then maybe you can set that expectation up front. Well, maybe in the first 7 days, they have to post like 10 times as much, right? And they have to go through that accelerator. Maybe that's what your guarantee is contingent on, is that they do that kind of work, right? And so again, it's not like one, you can sell around it short, like, and we can accommodate that. But the real long-term answer is, like, imagine Bezos being like, everybody wants their stuff in like 2 days, but like the postal service is 7, like, just is what it is. Like, what do you want me to do? Well, he's like, well, I'll just rebuild the whole fucking logistics system and own it myself, right? Absurd. But like, that's like, if Jeff Bezos can rebuild the entire mail distribution system, you can help contractors get leads in a couple fewer days. There you go. That's my answer. John Vine. All right. Looks like last one. John, I have a lot of, hopefully this is a good one. A lot of traffic going to my free group and started to do onboarding calls to convert people into my paid group. I don't have much time to take many calls, so I want to make sure that I'm taking qualified calls only. How do you recommend qualifying calls from a free group? So you can have them just fill out questions on a Calendly and then just cancel the calls for people who are qualified, like only who are qualified. And if you want to be a smart cookie about it, put those qualifications on the landing page. If you only want qualified people, then only let qualified people in and only give the free onboarding. And by the way, if you want to be a smart cookie about it, give even more than the free onboarding call, because now you're only giving it to qualified leads, which you're happily give that stuff to. So give more stuff away to fewer people who are better qualified. That's the TLDR. Adam, I'm glad you had your first 15K month. That's awesome. All right, I'm gonna see if I can answer Jerry Chung. Recently got my first 3 testimonials on track for 10. I think I should be moving to bringing cold traffic. How would you recommend to do this after this step? You'll either run ads or you will do outreach. I mean, I would say you could make content, but that'll take too long. So it's gonna be one of those two, and you're gonna run to the page. And either using them to layer those into a VSL, which will probably add to your about page video, or using it into a presentation, or both. But either way, you're probably gonna have some sort of phone call conversion that sells them into the community. And with that, my friends, I love you all. Hopefully as much as you love your partners. All right, be amazing. Catch you later. Bye.
This is a Cybertruck. This is 100 grand. And somebody watching this video right now is going to one of those two in the next 30 days. In fact, last month, Keytron won. Which one did you win?
Cybertruck.
Was it worth it?
Yeah, sure.
And he did it by building a community that helped people fix their credits and got to $132,000 in his first try. And listen, that was amazing for Keytron, but let me tell you about the other top 10 people that were here with me. And so here they are on the leaderboard, and here they are in real person. And so Adnan got to 27,000, Vineet 40,000, Ryan got to 44, Ted got to 48, Max 40, Anthony 101, Javon, Salah, Kevin 123, Vic 48, Devin 37. And so listen, I could keep talking about this, but you might be wondering, what's Skool? How does it work? Well, let me explain. So Skool's an online platform for building a group online about whatever you want. It's easy, and sure, everyone says that, but how easy? Well, right now, 1 out of 2 people who start a community online make money. Yes, 54.1%. And the reason that we have such a high success rate is because we spent hundreds of hours studying thousands of successful groups to figure out exactly what they did to make money. And then we broke it down into a step-by-step recipe for making money. Doesn't that smell good? And so we boiled it into do this X times per day and do this Y times per week. And it works. It works so well that right now the average paid community makes $1,360 per month in recurring revenue, which is pretty sweet. So no, it won't make you into a billionaire, but it will help you get started. And you can keep scaling all the way up like the 10 people that I was just showing you earlier. And on top of that, we built everything that you need to run a paid group on Skool already. So no, you won't need to start a Stripe account. No, you won't need to build a website. No, you won't need to have any inventory. And you won't have to hire anyone new. No thanks, guys. We're good. Skool works out of the box. Ta-da! It's that easy. We built it that works the same way as social media, so you don't need to learn anything new. All right, there's not even a single piece of technology that you figure out. You just log in and you can collect money in minutes, literally. And if you're just starting out, here's you. You're literally who we built Skool for. So remember those crazy people that I showed you over there? Say hello. Hey. They did this last month, and if they can do it, so can you. This is built for people who are brand new to business or brand new to online business. And if you're wondering, well, do I need to have an audience? No, half of those guys didn't have an organic audience, and these guys are the winners. So no, we'll show you where and how people are getting their first customers absolutely free. Follow me. Listen, if you don't believe me, think about it like this. If we get 1 out of 2 paid communities to make money, most people don't have organic audiences. So we had to figure it out or no one would stay on Skool, but we have. And that's why we have tens of thousands of groups on Skool right now. And as much as I'd like to think people love me, people stay because they make money. And we'll show you exactly how they did it. And also, just to make sure you don't get stuck on any step, I answer questions every single week. I hop on calls. And so if you want to hop on there live, we usually have 200 or 300 people who hop on those calls. So it's not huge. And so now's the best time to get started. So if that sounds at all interesting, the best part is you can start a community of your own absolutely free. Just click the yellow button below this video, enter your details to start your absolutely free trial. Worst case, start for free, you decide to quit, and then you can take all the training that other people charge thousands of dollars for with you for free. Again, that's the worst case. Best case, you take a zero risk move and build an online business that could change your life forever. And to be clear, I'm not asking you to decide yes or no today. I'm asking you to make an informed decision. That's it. And the only way you can do that is on the inside, not on the outside. So get inside and see if everything that we say is true and valuable to you. Then if it is, in 2 weeks is when you can actually decide for real. And if you get in and decide it's not for you, no sweat. But you can't truly make an informed decision right now for the same reason you don't buy a house without looking inside of it first, or test drive a car before buying it. So this is a guaranteed risk-free test drive. And listen, whether it's 13 minutes or 13 days from now, if you decide that it's not for you for any reason whatsoever, all you have to do is go to your profile and click cancel. That's it, 1 click. And the only reason you can make an offer that strong is because you're confident that what you have is the real deal. And I'm fairly confident that when you sign up by hitting the button below, you're getting exactly what you need to start your online business. So you might as well give it a shot.
The only other guarantee is that if you don't take this shot, you'll stay right where you are right now. But if you take action, you could be the next one coming out to Vegas celebrating how quickly you built an online business with consistent monthly recurring revenue and driving away in a Cybertruck or with 100 grand in cash in your pocket. Pretty neat. So click the button below, join us in the Skool Games. I take calls every Monday. Hop on and be sure to let me know you're new. I'll see you on the other side.